would love to introduce Shaddad Attili, that is advisor ranking minister, and is part of Palestinian Liberation Organization Negotiation Affairs Department. I hope that is correct. And Mr. Oded Eran, that is former ambassador. It was doing a very big work for his country, but is also former ambassador to Jordan and senior research fellow of the Institute for National Security Studies in Israel. And Mr. Eran, as yesterday, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, wrote an open letter to His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan, and it's a letter that, if he wanted, he could explain us what is the content, because it's related to the work that he's doing with Mr. Attili together. And I think that the best way to explain it's I ask to you both to explain your project, and if it's possible also to explain us how, for example, water could be also a symbol to build peace, because water is the most simple, but it's also the most difficult resource of that in Middle East it's difficult to find, and so. Please decide as you prefer. Perhaps if Mr. Eran would start, and then with Mr. Attili, as you prefer. Yes, but after and.
You want to go first?
You go first.
I go first.
Yeah.
So respected.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for attending this session. I would say that all the previous negotiations between us and the Palestinians have failed. From Oslo to Camp David to Annapolis to the efforts of John Kerry, the former Secretary of State, all of them failed, basically for two reasons. A, although Shaddad and myself can agree on everything tomorrow morning, our governments could not. And secondly, and this is more serious, because they were predicated on everything or nothing. We have to solve Jerusalem, refugees, borders, and everything depends if we find solutions to all of these problems, and we fail. And therefore, what happened is that issues like water, environment, food, health were dependent on whether we found a solution to Jerusalem. Now, I'm not saying that Jerusalem is not important, but what I'm saying is that when you link everything and you make it dependent, conditional, then you failed. And the situation today is, and this is where Shaddad and myself came into this with the help of Italian friends who sits here, front row, Enrico Molinari. We started to do things that can produce results immediately, and on the issue of water. But I will follow what you said, and that is that water is symbolic in the sense that we need this tomorrow, or yesterday in fact, and symbolic in the sense that we don't have water in the Middle East, as you know, one of the most dreary areas from that point of view, or dry areas, and we need regional cooperation to produce water for the benefit of all of us. And this is where the civil society comes in, not only on water issues, but on other issues. I give you an example. The peace process between Israelis and Palestinians started back in 91, 92, as an academic exercise between Israelis and Palestinians, which brought the Oslo negotiation and the Oslo Accords. We, at the Institute for National Security Studies, we reached the conclusion that we cannot reach today an agreement on Jerusalem. No fault of everyone. It's important, it's emotional to Palestinians, to Muslims, to Jews, to Christians. Too heavy to reach a decision today. Same as borders, same as refugees. And we in Israel, we cannot accept the status quo, because the status quo means that this is the end of the Jewish state. It means an end to a democratic Jewish state, and an end to a moral state. And this is why we need to get to something that could be done today. And so we are recommending incremental steps towards the attainment of the two-state solution. We can deal with water and reach a comprehensive agreement on water today. Shaddad and I will sit 24 hours and we will reach an agreement. This is at least my assessment. The same goes on environment. The same goes on health, and culture, and agriculture. And so what we recommend is that two governments, Israeli and Palestinian, accept this paradigm. The international community supports this, and there will be guarantees that eventually the two-state solution will be reached. It will take time, but in the meantime, we saw the water, for example, because in Gaza, you have children who are now born into drinking salinated water, children who don't have the minimal hygienic conditions, and this is what our two governments can do with the assistance of the international community, accepting that there are certain things that can be done today and eventually lead to the two-state solution. Thank you.
Thank you to you, Mr. Eran. And Mr. Attili, please could explain in a practical way what does it mean, your project? What are you doing with, if I know that it's difficult in so few minutes, but if it's possible so to give a practical idea of that, what does it mean to work together?
Well, thank you, and good afternoon to you all. Maybe it looks bizarre, a Palestinian sitting next to an Israeli, because what you have in the media that we are fighting each other, and this is true. But this is true because we're living in a land that we are fighting over. And we are a Palestinian who lives in the occupied West Bank, including Jerusalem, as well as we are Palestinian who lives in Israel. In Gaza, we are 2 million who's living there. And the fact that we are living together and we are living forever. So this is now comes, and what to do? We don't have a problem with Israel because the PLO has recognized Israel. But we do problem with Israel occupying us. So this is the problem. So the problem is that the Palestinians, they are looking for their self-determination and they're looking to build their own state. And this is the deal and this is the engagement of the international community since we signed Oslo. And it's unfortunate that now, after 25 years, of the signature of Oslo, that now we are living in a vacuum, we don't know where we are heading. Because all people now talking about the degradation of the two-state solution. When you come to the West Bank, you see settlement everywhere. And with Israel adopting the national law that Israel is a Jewish state, for us there is no hope for the refugee to return because it will impact the Jewish identity of the state. adding to that the problem of the border, adding to that the problem of Jerusalem, and all of that, we start missing to see our Palestinian state. While saying all of this, as I said, we are living together. And we cannot deny this fact. One of the examples I can mention is the water. We are sharing the same water. So if we do pollute, they will drink polluted water. So if it's Israel's interest to help us not to pollute the aquifers. When our people in Gaza start demonstrating and putting fire on caoutchouc, they will say, why? Why all this caoutchouc exists in Gaza? Because there is a problem of solid waste management there. If you help us addressing the solid waste, we will never find caoutchouc to put fire on. When there is lack of energy in Gaza and there is no sewage treatment plant functioning, this is the sewage treatment plant that we built with your money, the European money. One of the most wonderful projects, the Ingest project, that treats the sewage of 400,000 people, of our people in Gaza, is out of functioning. Why? Because our neighbor, they are not providing us with the 4 megawatt that we need to function such facility. So what's happened? The sewage comes to this facility, it goes out untreated, and it goes to the sea. So it killed the fish, and now start killing our kids because we witnessed the death of the first Palestinian swimming in the beach. But does the pollution stay there? No. The pollution travels with the wind, it goes up. When it goes up to Ashkelon, where they're having the biggest desalination facility that serves 1/3 of the drinkable water in Israel. Then they see this Ashkelon desalination facility start not getting the water of the sea, start getting the sewage of Gaza. So they stop it twice. Oded Eran start facing problem in his drinking at home. Because there is sewage that has not been addressed, because there is energy has not been supplied, because there is this beautiful investment, 120 million, is not functioning. So we said, while we understand this problem that we're against occupation, and we're willing to have our own state, there is areas that we need to put hands together. Despite really the difficulty, despite the problem that I see Oded occupying us. But okay, for the best interest of my kids and his kids, we have to address the water. At least we can keep alive while fighting, but we need to drink. This is why, when we came here to speak about this beautiful project that we start looking at with the help of our friend Enrico at the Italian, is addressing the solid waste in Gaza. And you know what? There is a problem of solid waste, as well as there is a problem of water, as well as there is poverty high in Gaza, and there is a lack of energy and lack of education, and all the sustainable development goals is not addressed in Gaza. The 17 elements, the poverty, the hunger, the water, the energy, and even when we talk to our people in Gaza about clean energy, they will tell you, hey, Dr. Attili, clean energy, this is the fancy terminology of the sustainable development goal. I don't care about clean energy. Give me energy first, because I'm living 4 hours of electricity a day. And when I have energy and power, then I will start thinking if there is a place to put a solar panel for the clean energy. In conclusion, we need to work together. And we need, this is the civil society, and even the government has to encourage this kind of cooperation, because there is no way that each one works alone. And in the meanwhile, the international community has to support that the two parties return to the table to address the two-state solution.
Thank you very much. I introduce, sorry, I have to go very quickly because we don't have so much time, and I think that it could take hours and hours to hear you all. And so I'm sorry, but I'm